Hi, today we're going to talk about Rhogam. So what is Rhogam? It is a blood product and it is for people who are Rh negative. So what does that mean? Let's back up a step. What is your blood type? Most of the time we're talking about your ABO group. Are you A, B, AB, or O? But most of the time you also say that you are either positive or negative. For instance, I am O positive. That means I am positive for the Rh factor, and you are either positive or negative, one or the other, it's binary. And for the most part, it's Mendelian genetics. You remember high school biology when you did a Punnett square and it was 4 squares together? Across the top was one parent and across the side was another parent, and then you looked at all the possible offspring they could produce. Rh factor is the same way. So if you have 2 Rh negative parents, they're going to produce Rh negative children because being negative is recessive. However, if you're positive, you can also be heterozygous. For instance, my husband and I are both Rh positive, and we have one Rh negative child. So being heterozygous means that you can also produce negative children. So why is all this an issue? If you are Rh negative, you do not want Rh positive blood in your body. If you were to receive a transfusion of Rh positive blood, that would be very bad. If you're a woman and you are pregnant with an Rh positive child, then for the first pregnancy it should be okay, but if you become sensitized, meaning that some of the baby's blood mixes with yours at any point during pregnancy or birth, future pregnancies may be put in jeopardy. Now, as I already mentioned, 2 Rh negative parents can only produce Rh negative children. So if your child's father is also Rh negative, you do not need Rhogam. You will not become sensitized. If he is positive, you might want to check and see if he is heterozygous or not. That's a blood test. And then there's a 50-50 chance the baby is also negative. And you can check the baby's blood at birth to find out whether they are positive or negative, and then make the decision about whether you need Rhogam. So again, Rhogam is a blood product. It is taken from donors and pooled together, and the idea is you will receive an injection that will neutralize all of the Rh positive blood that may be in your circulation, and then that will stop you from creating antibodies that would affect future pregnancies. So under what circumstances would you be sensitized? It would be anything that would lead the baby's blood to be mixed with yours. So that would be a miscarriage, that would be abdominal trauma that may result in a little separation of the placenta, and it might also happen at birth. Now, a lot of the research that is behind Rhogam is very old and a little bit questionable in its methodologies, and we also have to consider what birth practices were 50 years ago when all of this was coming into light. All of those births were very medically managed, especially third stage. It created more blood mixing than is likely under physiologic circumstances. So the odds are that more women are getting Rhogam than actually need it. So we can look at, have you had a completely trauma-free pregnancy as far as any mixing of your blood? Can we facilitate a physiologic birth and a physiologic third stage so that you can minimize any exposure that you get? And if not, you can still get it. And you will probably need to look at the ingredients and see if you're comfortable with that, see if you're comfortable with receiving blood products. Some people aren't. And this is all part of the informed decision-making discussion that we're going to have as far as whether or not this applies to you. So look at all of the information, and we can take it on a day-by-day basis and see how the birth goes. But this is information that you would probably need to assimilate because this happens to enough people that it's going to come up. And the medical world says that every Rh negative woman should get Rhogam. That is the recommendation across the board. So knowing what the recommendation is and knowing how it applies to your situation is the starting point of informed decision making. So I hope that was helpful, and let's talk in the future.